My personal favourite rally car of all time is finally in Gran Turismo 7. Of course I'm talking about the Subaru Impreza, but mainly the World Rally Car version, which was made from 1997 until the year 2000, in which point it was phased out for an entire different generation. For me personally, this might just be the most iconic rally car to ever exist. That bright blue paint job, the yellow sponsors, the gold wheels. For me, it's a match made in heaven. And today, well, I'm going to review it. So first of all, let's head over and check out the price point of this car. It is of course a Group B rally car. It has a PP rating of 572.32, 4-wheel drive, 299 brake horsepower, weighing 1230 kilograms, and of course is turbocharged. It will cost you 650,000 credits for this car, which really isn't too bad for a legendary car. So there is some customization options available for this car. Of course you can go ahead and change the wheels to whichever that you like. Of course we do have the new Michelin tyres in game now, and in terms of the front bumper, that also has some options available in terms of the looks and styling for it. We do also have a side option available and the option to debadge the front grille. So this would usually be the point where I go ahead and start reviewing the car, talking about the history and all that kind of stuff. However, before I get into that section of the video, I do want to explain that a few things have had to change in terms of the car reviews. So because we're on new physics for update 1.49 and onwards, it would only make sense to go ahead and reset the lap time leaderboard. So this will be the first car out of the gate to go ahead and set times for all of our leaderboards. There's nothing else to compare on the current physics. In terms of the review process itself, because this is classed as a Group B rally car in game, it's much more versatile than a lot of other vehicles. So we will review the stock version around the Nordschleife for a hot lap, talk about the history and all that good stuff. We'll then take it over in its standard form on dirt tyres to Fisherman's Ranch to set a dirt lap time there and kick off that leaderboard. We'll then review it in the snow at Lake Louise so it can kick off that leaderboard. And then in terms of the fully modified version, I've actually changed up the track itself. So originally it was on high speed ring, however with the new sort of bouncy physics at present, it didn't seem too right to run the likes of high speed ring with those big bankings. So that has now been changed to Suzuka, and that is the way it stays. It's a nice mix of long straights and tight corners, as well as the sort of mid-speed, high speed, etc. So it does seem like a good place to review a fully modified version, and of course this car will be kicking that off as well. So let's start off with the history of the Impreza. Now this car came along in 1993 for the World Rally Championship to go ahead and replace the Subaru Legacy. At this point it did start a long illustrious career which spanned from 93 till 2008. That is 15 years in one single category of motorsport. Now of course the car went through many changes over time. It started off as a Group A category car which was much more production like than what we're seeing here. Then from 1997 to the year 2000 we saw the sort of same generation go into the World Rally Car category. Again, these were just much more aggressive, much more wider, etc. And then of course we saw an entire different generation of Subaru that ran from 2001 up until 2008, when unfortunately the financial crisis caused the likes of Subaru and other manufacturers to just entirely pull out of the World Rally Championship. Since then, Subaru have yet to come back to the WRC, as well as a bunch of other manufacturers as well. So the version of car that you see in here is the one that ran from 1997 until the year 2000, classed as the World Rally Car category. Of course, prior to that it was Group A, then into the World Rally Car category, and then this sort of generation of Impreza was entirely phased out when the Bug-Eye took over in the year 2001 onwards. Again, an entire different generation that spawned a bunch of different fans from 2001 until 2008 when obviously Subaru pulled out. So during its 15 long years in the WRC, the Subaru Impreza was one of the most iconic as well as one of the most successful rally cars to ever exist. In terms of its 15-year span, it took 3 Constructors' Championships in 95, 96 and 97, doing it 3 years on the bounce. Drivers, that was in 95, 2001 and 2003. In total, this car took part in 193 rallies, it took 46 wins, 122 podiums, and of course overall 6 titles, being driven by some of the most iconic and best rally drivers to do it in the modern times, the likes of Colin McRae, Richard Burns, Carlos Sainz, Petter Solberg, Tommy Mäkinen and more. So when it comes to rally, there's no denying that the Impreza was one of the best to ever do it. When it comes to rally cars, I honestly believe that the Subaru Impreza is perhaps my personal most iconic rally car of all time. I grew up with these things, they were absolutely everywhere. The likes of Richard Burns driving them, Colin McRae. It was very much a British-Japanese icon around the sort of late 90s to early 2000s. Everyone absolutely loved these things. That very striking bright blue paint job, the yellow sponsors, the beautiful gold wheels, and in terms of the drivers, of course, some of the biggest legends to ever do it, and the iconic boxer engine sound. What in my opinion is one of the most iconic engine notes to ever exist. Now of course it did also spawn the huge rivalry between the Impreza and the Evo, which still goes on today, even when the Impreza is pretty much a completely different vehicle to what it once represented, and the Evo is completely gone. You will still hear people to this day talking about the rivalry, that they won't touch an Evo or they won't touch an Impreza because they have loyalty to one or the other, which to me just says a lot about the legacy of both of these cars. But how does it feel in Gran Turismo 7? I'm happy to report that this might just be my new favourite car in game. Of course, yes, I'm biased towards this thing. However, in terms of the driving feeling, it is just absolutely spot on. It really does suit the new physics. It's literal perfection in my opinion. So of course the one we're reviewing on the Nordschleife is the stock version. This is exactly how it'll come out of the Legends dealership. No changes, no tuning, no tyre changes. It's exactly that, stock. Bone stock, nothing changed. So in terms of this car, it's absolutely fantastic. However, there is a weird thing in GT7 that when you buy these Group B rally cars, they come on racing hard tyres. Now, of course, that wouldn't usually be a problem. However, the characteristics of the car and how it's set up, it'll be set up in a way that is targeting the dirt rally and not tarmac rally. So like the Impreza we're seeing here, it's raised rather quite high up off the ground. It's very bouncy, it moves around a lot. Of course, we've got a gearbox that's set up very much in terms of acceleration, which most rally cars are, of course. However, if it was doing sort of a circuit tarmac rally championship, which is what these kind of come across as when you buy them, then you would expect the gear ratios to be a bit longer. So of course the drawback on these bigger tracks in standard form is the fact that it's all acceleration. You'll be topping out around about 130 miles per hour, and that is pretty much it. In terms of the power output, it's 300 brake coupled with 4-wheel drive, so it's an incredibly easy car to get used to and drive. And honestly, if you wanted to get used to anything on the new physics, I would say this is probably the stock go-to car to go to. Overall, it's fantastic. However, it can be made better, which I'll show you a little bit later on in the video. So out of the box, absolutely beautiful. Really, the only drawback is the fact that it's set up for dirt but running on tarmac tyres. Maybe just change the way you do that, Polyphony. So as mentioned, it's a brand new leaderboard from update 1.49 and beyond, so the only car to set a time is the Impreza rally car. As you can see, that PP rating of 572.32 on the Racing Hards gave it an entire time of 7 minutes 23.596. Now just imagine if this was set up with a longer ratio gearbox. I think it would have been probably much quicker. So with this being a Group B rally car, it's time to head over and review it on the dirt. So the only changes we've made here is the fact that the dirt tyres are now on the car instead of the Racing Hards. And this is honestly where this car comes alive in its standard form. It's of course set up for rally, and it absolutely perfects the brand new dirt physics. And honestly, I have to give props to Polyphony here that they've turned the dirt physics from one of the worst things in the game to perhaps one of the most enjoyable and fluid things in the game. It's absolutely fantastic, and for me, there's nothing more iconic and perfect than starting it off in that bright blue Impreza. So how does it handle the dirt? So couple the dirt physics with the new Impreza and you probably get one of the best and most iconic combinations out there. I'm absolutely loving this car on the dirt. I've been throwing many sort of rallycross laps in with this thing, and it feels absolutely fantastic straight out of the box. Of course, it is aimed towards the rally and the dirt stages with how it's set up from the Legends dealership, and honestly I have zero complaints. It feels absolutely fantastic. Nailing and jumping this thing, it can get some very extreme air where it's absolutely ridiculous. You've got the gearbox set up for very tight hairpins to then rock it out at some ridiculous speed. It feels overall much quicker, much nicer overall on the dirt, and honestly the Impreza is probably one of the best to ever do it. If I had to criticise anything, I would probably say that the 300 brake horsepower on the dirt just doesn't quite feel enough. Of course, this is an aging car, so you don't expect it to have all the modern enhancements of a modern day rally car, so of course it's going to be a fair bit slower, but you can sometimes feel it, especially on these straights, and when it comes to just catching some of that ridiculous air, you just feel like there could have been a bit more poke to just launch you up. Now in terms of the acceleration though, that's a whole different ball game. This thing feels like a rocket ship out of a corner. There's the right amount of weight to kind of slide you on through, and then all of a sudden it's like the turbo just absolutely kicks in and you will launch out like there is no tomorrow. It's pretty ridiculous. So again, if I had one criticism of this car, is that yes, it is starting to show its age in terms of the power and how it puts it down on the longer sections of a track. However, for me, it still holds up on the dirt, and it's still one of the best experiences on the dirt you could ever wish for. So the Impreza goes across the line, and that is going to set our initial dirt lap time. So the benchmark has been set. The Subaru Impreza Rally Car 98 does it with a PP rating of 514.37 on the dirt compound of tyres, and does it in a time of 3 minutes 18.138. Now it's time to head over to the snow and see how it performs over there. So once again, the only change to this car is that it's running on snow tyres now, and this was where I noticed one of the biggest changes of the new physics. The snow feels entirely different from the dirt, and really from anything else. Where the dirt you kind of feel like you're skimming over, of course there's a nice weight to it, but the snow you can really feel the car dig in, and that's where this car performs absolutely fantastic. It really is a perfect car on pretty much any surface. It was gliding over the snow, you then hit a big banking, you'd feel the sort of rear tyres sort of dig down deep and you'd have to push yourself out with that rocket ship acceleration. Really, I had no complaints at all. It felt fantastic, it was enjoyable, and honestly it felt fairly quick. Again, add that extra weight in there and you can really feel the car punching through that snow and absolutely performing at its peak. So I'm happy to report that the Impreza not only can do it on the road, it can do it on dirt, and it can also do it extremely well in the snow. So it's going to head over, cross the line, and that is going to be our first snow lap time set. So let's head over and check it out. So taking a look at the benchmark, the Subaru Impreza Rally Car sets it with a PP rating of 489.80 on the snow compound of tyre, and does it in a 1 minute 47.951. Finally, it's time to turn it up to the max. This is a maximum upgraded Subaru Impreza. Now I have made a few slight changes to make it as fair as possible. I have lowered the suspension. It wouldn't be right to keep it on the dirt physics suspension on a road track. Of course, fully upgraded, this thing puts out a ridiculous amount of power. It's almost 800 brake horsepower just by strapping a turbo on. It's absolutely ridiculous. However, I am also going to talk about that this, when it has been upgraded to 700 pp, may just be the new standout car in the entire game and one of the metas for a long time to come. This thing is quite easily able to set 3-minute 50 lap times at Le Mans in 700 pp form, making it one of the best grinding cars in the entire game. And in fact, once you start piling those upgrades on, lower it down and make it insanely aggressive, this car absolutely comes alive. It really is one of the most versatile vehicles in game. Yes, it can get sketchy at times. Yes, it will probably try and kill you. However, once you tame this absolute beast, it becomes one of the best driving experiences I've ever had in any racing game. There is just something incredible about the pops and bangs, the insanely aggressive gears, the beautiful whine of the transmission, and of course match that with a boxer engine note and you're just going to instantly win anyway. For me, the Subaru Impreza is a car that can tackle anything, whether it's standard, whether it's fully upgraded. You have a car here that is able to tackle pretty much anything this game could throw at it. So I guess when it comes to my final thoughts, there isn't anything that this car cannot do. It really is a master of pretty much everything in game. Pre-release, I was insanely hyped for this car to come to the game, and I think one of the best feelings I've ever had for GT7 is the fact that it entered in game, it suited the new physics, and Polyphony didn't butcher it. So let's head over and check out the lap time leaderboard. A PP rating of 714.01 on the racing softs, of course every upgrade possible on this thing, a time of a 1 minute 59.662. So there we go, it's my first car review of the update 1.49 physics, and of course the Subaru Impreza paves the way for everything else to come. Honestly, the saying goes, once a legend, always a legend, and I think that may just be the case when it comes to the Impreza. For me, there's nothing more iconic, and I am incredibly happy to see this enter GT7, as well as not only match my expectations, but absolutely smash them out of the water. So whether you want to tackle the tarmac, the snow, the dirt, grind money, the Subaru Impreza has your back and has you covered in every single way. This may just be the best all-round car and one of the best driving experiences I've ever had in GT7. Let me know what you think of it down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry it's a bit of a longer one, it always is when the car can pretty much do everything. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care guys, peace.